This is Gateway City Sports.
It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down. Michael for three. Yes! She is gone! I don't believe what I just saw.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
You believe in miracles? Yes!
You may fire when ready.
What?
All right, everybody, welcome back to this week's show. It must be Thursday, and that just dawned on me about a half an hour ago, maybe 45 minutes ago to be fair, that it is Thursday night. It is our date night. And speaking of date night, we got a guest with us that's anxiously waiting his date night, so we're not going to hold him up very long. But it's Thursday, June 24th. This is the Team of Rivals podcast, proud members of the Gateway City Sports Group. You can follow us on teamofrivalspodcast.com, Instagram, and Facebook at Team of Rivals Podcast. Not going to go through the whole thing here because we got to get moving. Elliott's with me tonight. Pete is dehydrated, near death, I think, at home. He wasn't going to be able to join us tonight, so we hope he gets to feeling better. And I'm a terrible friend, Elliott. I didn't realize he was recovering today from something that he probably told us about, and I probably wasn't paying attention. And if you guys are ever talking to me and my mouth is slightly open, I am not listening. That's something that my wife told me about myself a long time ago. She knows when I'm not listening because my mouth is slightly open. That means I'm thinking about, I'm in my own world, my own selfish world, thinking about whatever the hell I want to, and I'm not listening. Horrible friend. We'll touch on that in the back half of the show. We got something else to talk about. It's gotten so bad that even Cub fans are not talking shit to us these days. They're more like looking at us going, guys, you okay? Like, what is going on? So to help us try to sort through what's going on with our St. Louis Cardinals right now, I was telling you before the show, Elliott, I don't think they could compete against the Iowa Cubs at this point. It's looking really bad.
It's worrisome because I want this race to keep going.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you.
I like the tight race.
Yeah. So joining us tonight is host of the 2 for 3 podcast. He's also a member of the Gateway City Sports network of podcasts. That's Mike Stevenson. He joins us tonight, his first appearance on the Team of Rivals podcast. He's getting out of here before things get ugly, right? You're getting out of here before things usually get ugly, and they're probably will again tonight. Great to have you on, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Give us the rundown, because I know there's a lot of activity on that Twitter DM on our Gateway City Sports, and I can't keep up with it. I gave up. So
we have another member on the team named Don, and he and we get along great. He's a friend, but we argue a lot about what we think the team should do.
Yeah.
And he's a staunch Mo defender. He trusts Mo's process and everything else, and I have no patience for it anymore at all. I mean, you look at Martinez tonight, first inning, he just blew up, and Ron, you've known this about me for a while. I've started a group for recovering Martinez advocates.
Yeah.
Because I've wanted to trade him like 4 years ago because he's worthless. He's always been worthless. And it's not his fault at all. I'm starting to get on a rant, but basically we were trying to decide what the Cardinals needed to do to make themselves better.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, after getting so many injuries to the rotation, I don't know there's anything they can do to make themselves better at this point. So maybe standing pat is the way to go. That's my little boy.
Your kid agrees with you. I heard him.
Yeah.
He said the Pirates just homered again, and they did. Not off your guy though.
No, not off my guy. It's a rough season to be a Cardinals fan. You know, we had Goldie and Arenado. You had Flaherty. Miles Michaelis was supposed to be back, and looks like Pacoda was kind of right. Pacoda said the pitching wasn't going to be able to keep up, and they're correct.
You know what's incredible, and you said two names there. Elliott, your impression of this as a Cub fan. You know, 2 years ago they go out and get Paul Goldschmidt to finally get that solid middle of the order bat, and you think sometimes it only takes that one addition, and all of a sudden your lineup looks completely different because now it allows some guys to bat where they should, right? Example, not batting Matt Carpenter 3 or 4 because you actually went out and got a legit 3 or 4 hitter. 2 years later, well, I mean, you know, they had no protection for him was the problem. You tried Paul DeYoung back there. You've tried Tyler O'Neill. Yadi's not a cleanup hitter.
It was only a year, right? It was
only a year without. Well, it was
Schmidt's
because in
second year.
Right, because in 19 you still had Ozuna floating around there, right? So it wasn't without, but Ozuna wasn't that great in his second year. Neither year really. He wasn't the guy that they traded for. They thought,
but he had a bum shoulder.
He did.
To be fair,
he did. He was dealing with injury. It seemed to be a little bit more recovered last year. It was recovered enough for him to get into a domestic dispute. Let's just put it that way. This year, we won't touch on that anymore. But you know, they go out and get a name like Nolan Arenado. It brings us back to the days when they went out and got Scott Rowland to kind of polish off that MV3 they had right in the middle of their lineup, right? It just seems, Mike, that they stop short of just doing a little bit more that we know they need to do, and they don't. They get that one big guy coming in here, and we're all thrilled. And we thought, man, 3 and 4, a tandem of Goldschmidt and Arenado, that's got to fix a lot of stuff on offense, right? Just you think some of the guys that have been struggling being around 2 hitters like this will make them better. No, it hasn't worked. This offense drives me nuts. And Elliott, since we've been doing this podcast, it seemed like a broken record every year that offensively and by position, at least up until this year, my frustration always fell with this offense. It would never seem to be consistent, constantly underachieving, underperforming. And lo and behold, this year, when we get the 2 guys in the middle of the order, now the pitching has just bottomed out in a way that none of us saw this coming to the extent that it is today. Right?
Well,
we thought it came with right, Mike. We thought the pitching came with risk because we didn't quite know who we were going to get in a couple guys. You know, Miles Michaelis coming off of injury. We lost Hudson to Tommy John. You know, Wainwright's getting up there in age, so it certainly had questions. I don't think any of us as fans, even Cubs fans, predicting that their pitching would be this terrible.
No, and I mean, it's not like it's almost otherworldly what happened. I mean, if you take a look at it, Wainwright is their most reliable guy this year. Either guys like Gant got really lucky for a while, and now it's catching up to him. Martinez can't pitch. I saw Ponce de Leon's on the IL now. I mean, Flaherty's out. And here's the thing. I saw our friend Brian Swope say this. Oblique injuries to pitchers aren't a joke.
No.
They've ended some careers.
Well, I think back, go back in the time machine, Mike. Look at Woody Williams when he had those oblique injuries back in the early 2000s with the Cardinals. I mean, really like an innings eater, a solid pitcher, never an ace, but you know, it derailed him for quite a while.
No, it did. And then on top of that, you've got Arenado still adjusting to not hitting in Colorado. I mean, I don't think anyone expected him to be mashing the way he did there. But he was in, well, I guess he's still kind of in the midst of one of the worst slumps of his career. Goldie's 2 years older. And it's kind of going back to what you were saying earlier. It's great that you got Goldie and Arenado. And not that, you know, Colorado was willing to trade Arenado 2 years ago. But it seems like they get, like you were talking about, they only go one step, but not enough steps to compete each year. And I think maybe the best way to, you know, talking about the pitching, talking about the offense, the best way to put it is Mo seems to be only happy doing enough to keep them in contention for a playoff spot. He doesn't seem worried about the division. He doesn't seem actually even worried about World Series. It's almost like if we get the playoffs, fans will be happy and they'll leave me alone for another year. It's like I said in the Twitter feed, he would be the worst military leader either because I think he's scared of making the wrong choice. Like it's like decision paralysis. He's worried about being wrong. That's just my take on it. After he came out and said, we're not feeling the pressure to win. And that alone should tell everybody exactly the way the Cardinals are headed. He doesn't feel the pressure to win.
How does he not feel the pressure to win when they're at where they're at? I mean, you get swept at home by the Reds, and then you're behind the Cubs right now.
It's 5 games, 5-6 games.
Five games now.
It's going to be depending on what the Cubs do tonight. But Elliott, to your point, like you're looking at all of these signs. Let me tell you the biggest one I see tonight. Mike, I don't know if you got the game on. I've got it on another monitor here, but I noticed it when the game started. You know, the field angles don't make the seats look empty. When they show the wide angle, higher elevation shots of what's going on at this game, it's open 100% capacity. Talking to our friend Gino a little earlier, he said there's 30,000 at the game. Sure as hell doesn't look like it. And look, I understand.
That stadium holds almost 50,000.
Yeah, and well, it does. And look, I understand there was weather coming in tonight. It might have kept some people away, but you know, this sucker is open 100%. And while I never thought this year, because COVID still being a factor, never thought that I would see the stadium 100% packed. But this isn't just a COVID factor going on here. I know it's the Pirates. I know it's a weeknight. But we've seen this for a good 10 or 15, almost 20 years now, where this stadium is damn near packed every night. Doesn't matter if it's a Monday night or a Tuesday during school, right? During when school's still in session, that stadium's usually jam packed, and it's not right now. And I don't buy that it's all a COVID factor. I said this earlier. I think I tweeted it out. Look, St. Louis doesn't draw from a heavily this huge metropolitan area where there's enough people there that can fill it on any given night. Right? People are coming from across the river. They're coming from Arkansas, southern Missouri, northern Missouri. You know, they're getting in their car for 2.5 hours or 3 hours to go see a game. Nobody is going to get in their car and drive any distance at all to watch this shit. And it's not just a COVID scare. I think that there's a little bit more to look at here when you look at the size of the crowd. Elliott, to your point, though, looking at the attendance right now compared to some of the other teams that can draw, they've got to be noticing this. If they haven't, if the standings and the performance isn't sending the message to them, what I'm seeing in the stands tonight should. Mike, what do you think?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And moreover, I don't think Mo's taking into account how this is going to affect the overall team. Because without fans in the stands, it's going to demoralize the team. But moreover, and it's a point I was making in that Twitter conversation, who's the core of your team right now? I'd argue that Nolan Arenado is now the face of your franchise. Goldschmidt's part of that. Dylan Carlson's most certainly part of that. Mm-hmm. Those three minimum are probably the core you want to build around. But if you don't have fans in the stands, things are going south. Arenado doesn't have a good time. Is anyone forgetting he can leave at the end of this season? And then if he's like, okay, I'll give you one more shot, he can leave at the end of the next season.
Yeah.
So far, and I love my Cardinals and I love St. Louis, but if I'm Arenado and I'm looking around, this is not coming as advertised at all.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's a concern on a lot of fans' minds. Elliott, I don't know if you'd be grinning from ear to ear. Are you still in shock that this team that you're used to competing with are being right there on your heels over the last 4 or 5 years? It's unrecognizable probably to you.
Well, and I'm going to go back to what you were talking about before, where, you know, the Cardinals, when they first got Goldschmidt, you know, Pete and I were both like, oh God, now we're going to have to see this guy for the next, 6-7 years, who's just going to be a thorn in our side every single time we see him. And then to add on Arenado, who we always saw in Colorado, who was also a thorn in the side, to have both those guys in the same lineup batting right next to each other is just, we were like, well, this is what it's going to be for the next, 5-6 years, where these guys are just going to kill us every single time, because we know that Yachty's never going to retire, and he's always a thorn in our side, no matter what age he is. So, but to see these guys perform the way that they have these last couple seasons, I like these guys as players. I like Goldschmidt when he was in Arizona. I liked Arenado when he was in Colorado. So I like them as players, and to see them struggle the way that they are is a bit disappointing as a baseball fan. But as a Cubs fan, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah. Well, understandably so, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, oh, great, the Cardinals trade for Goldschmidt 1 year. 2 years later, here they are bringing Arenado. We're going to have to look at this Pujols, Roland, Edmonds type of scenario again. Great. You know, like we've had to look at Baez and Bryant and Rizzo.
Back to the days when Houston was in the Central and you had the Bees, you know.
The Killer Bees. Derek Bell was my favorite.
Bees.
Let me tell you why Derek Bell was my favorite.
I hated playing those guys because they killed you every single time.
I hated him too. Still, something about him, like I wish they were still in the National League Central for some reason. Like it just seems still weird that they're an American League team. But in fact, I wish we would have kept Houston and sent Milwaukee's ass back to the American League. That's what should have happened.
I could jump on board with that totally.
I don't know. What do you think, Mike? Would you trade up? I know Houston's been a lot better.
I mean, I'd be okay if the Cubs just went to the American League Central too. So it's no big deal. Do you know what I want to? You're talking about this game earlier, the Pirates and the Cardinals, and so they got swept by the Reds. They lost the series against the Braves. They obviously can't compete with teams that have a winning record. They can barely compete with teams that don't have a winning record.
Mm-hmm.
How long does this pattern go on before Schilt gets the boot?
Well, we were talking about that.
Before. Yeah.
Mike, let's play out worst case scenario right now. This series against the Pirates, if they end up getting swept here this week or going into the weekend, it's a 4-game set. I doubt. I say that, but I shouldn't be surprised by anything these days. I don't think the Pirates are walking out of here with a sweep in 4 games. But if they take 3 out of 4, you've got to start wondering what's going to happen. Because not that I believe that. Look, I question a lot of Schultz moves too sometimes. I question his lineups probably more than anything. But I don't know that swapping out a manager right now, because that manager still has to deal with the same roster that Schultz has to deal with, right? So I don't know that a new manager is going to step in that dugout right now and make this like turnaround impact. I feel the same way about the pitching coach. But there does have to be some accountability shown here. You can't just dump a player usually to send a signal, especially one you owe millions of bucks to. I do think that you're gonna see members of the coaching staff, and I wouldn't rule out, but a managerial change. But I think there's gonna have to be a change within the coaching staff. It's something to at least provide some kind of smoke screen that they're trying to hold people accountable.
So I've got basically an opinion here. It's not a popular opinion by any means. The Cardinals, in my opinion, unless something changes that I'm not aware of, they are going to finish 4th in the National League Central. They might even finish last, and here's why. We can all 3 agree the Pirates are really, really bad, right?
Agreed.
Yes.
But that was before the Cardinals lost their entire pitching staff.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals have no pitching outside of Wainwright. Flaherty's not due back until August. At that point, it could be over for the season. So they're going to continue. I don't think it's Maddox's fault. They're going to go through this with Schilt saying, "You're not giving my guys credit. You're not giving, you're not seeing how hard this team's working. They're playing their best." But he says that, and they're going to lose to the Pirates, theoretically 8-2 or whatever it is. And it's like I said to somebody else, if you're losing to a bad team 8-2 and you're mad that no one's recognizing the Cardinals are playing their best, you have a really bad team.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's their best and that's what you're mad about, that's what you're chirping about, you've got a really bad team, or you don't know how to manage the team. And to me, over the last 2 years, I wasn't a fan of Matheny at the end. But Schilt seems more and more just like a yes man for Mo. if you've noticed, he says all the same things Mo says. Backs up their guys. Whereas La Russa would at least, buck the Tigers sometimes. I don't know. I think the Cardinals are going to finish fourth or last. I think you're going to see a new manager. With Martinez in his final year, Matt Carpenter's, he's not great by any means of the imagination, but he's at least trying, it seems.
Well, you can see that he's at least, made an argument that he's a guy to keep around for the bench.
Yes. But one of those guys, I could see one of those guys getting cut to send a message like, listen, I don't care how much you're getting paid. This isn't acceptable.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you on the fourth place finish, but I do think that they'll be hesitant to change out the manager. You know how patient they are with that stuff. And it took, and I wasn't there. None of us were there. None of us were in the clubhouse. We really don't know. We kind of go off what we hear. But the message was stale. He had lost the team. I'm talking Matheny by the time they let him go. It was midseason, which is uncharacteristic for a Cardinals organization to let a manager go mid-year like that. That's Mike. And I think that's probably why they don't do that this year. I mean, he was manager of the year in 2019, and he deserves a lot of credit for that year. He had a team that was terrible at defense, terrible at base running, and was able to turn it around. Now, it wasn't his instruction or managing that turned it around. They actually put better defenders in the everyday lineup more often. Like, Bader in center field was a better glove to have out there. Certainly having Paul Goldschmidt at first base gave the other infielders a lot of forgiveness for bad throws and everything, right? So it was better defenders for sure.
Ron, and I don't mean to interrupt you real fast because I'm about to have to go.
Better be a good point then.
I can see headlights coming in. So was that Matheny's fault for losing the team, or was Matheny not given the tools to succeed?
I think it was a combination of both.
Because, he doesn't seem to be the Royals aren't a good team either, but he doesn't seem to be doing too bad there.
Yeah, the optics of this looked like Matheny just with a couple players couldn't flourish under his managing style for some reason. I would say Colton Wong probably fell into that category.
Fowler,
even Fan to some extent too. That and I think that there was just too much friction somehow, or too much silence, non-communication. We hear that all the time, that he just wasn't communicating with certain players, and I think that probably what drove the change. I mean, that front office, when they invest in their guys or their set of guys and it's not working, and they think, it's communication, it must be this managerial style that's working against it, and that drives that change. I don't know if that's going to happen here. And I'm not defending the manager by any means at all. At some point in time, that narrative of these guys are trying really hard, that fuel is going to run out of that argument, right? You can't. And so it'll, I don't know. I'd like to say it'll be interesting. I don't know if I'm interested in it anymore, but if they keep playing this way, I think there's going to be a change. Just how far they go is going to tell us. So I don't know. We'll see it. But hey, man, I know you got to go.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, you got to go. So
thanks for coming on.
Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you, man.
All right, man.
Yep. Bye.
Okay. Wow, what a bummer. It is now 6-1. Pittsburgh. I don't see the Cardinals turning it around. I don't see them turning it around.
Well, and I just saw what you were talking about with how many fans are in the stands right now, and there are a few full sections empty, and you do not see that at Busch Stadium.
I know.
Ever.
It's a concern. It's a concern, and I understand weather and COVID. The problem I have a lot with this look, the front office has some air cover that we know they're going to try to use, and that's what gets under our skin more often. They're going to point to a couple things here, Elliott. Injuries to the pitching staff. That's going to be their excuse till the end of the year, into the off season. All the injuries we had to our pitching set us back, and we couldn't recover from it. Right? It's a perfect air cover. The other thing now. Air cover on the attendance, Elliott, is going to be the same damn thing. Different excuse. It's going to be COVID. That's going to be the excuse, right? It's like these things are set up perfectly for them to feed us a line. We know they're going to feed us. They're going to do it, and it's going to piss me off even more.
Well, and the question is, what's the percentage of fans going back to those stadiums that are fully open right now? Like, is that percentage similar to what the Cardinals are seeing, or what the delta is compared to when they were fully open?
Yeah, I do think that I do look, the pandemic is definitely a factor, right? Even though we're on the tail end of it, and for a lot of us it's kind of over. I do know that I can't deny that it's going to play some role in attendance being down, probably league wide. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, there are still people who are being careful, who aren't just going to go do those social things that they were doing before.
Right. But you also you can't ignore geography. Geography for the Cardinals is, yes, they're not smack dab in the middle of New York City or LA or even Chicago, where there is enough people nearby that on any given night can fill your park, right? Then there are people that live a distance. They're not going to travel the distance to watch this. It's just how it is. That's reality.
That's true. No, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, that's how it's going to be. And I don't know that, I don't know. I mean, if they were playing better, I still don't think they have a full park tonight, Elliot, but it doesn't look like this.
But the problem is St. Louis is boring. There's nothing to do. And that's why people don't travel there. So that's why even when the Cubs were bad, people would go there because Chicago's fun.
It's not that fun, though. There's too many people. I say if any city needed a plague, it's Chicago. It needs to be thinned out. It needs to be thinned out a little bit. It should have just been a concentrated plague right there.
There you go.
So, I don't necessarily want to spend the entire show here beating up on how bad the Cardinals is, but the holes in the team are, it's glaring. We all know it. We all see it. And it comes down to, front office is going to have to, I don't know, they're going to have to make a choice. And when you go out and get a guy like Nolan Arenado in the offseason, it's probably really hard to make the choice that we got to rip this sucker down and rebuild. It's hard to do that when you just went out and acquired a guy like that.
Well, it's both Goldschmidt and Arenado, because those acquisitions are so close together that was telling the fans, hey, we're ready to win.
Right.
Yes, there's the bad luck and the injuries with the
bringing back
staff,
Yachty and Waino for one more year at the end of this could be their last year, man.
Right. So go get some pitchers. I mean, you could make deals now. You don't have to wait. There are some bad teams right now that would probably you could make some deals with to get some serviceable pitchers that are better than what you're throwing out there every 5 days.
Well, this, when you get in June, it's always more difficult, right? Because you're getting that player for a little bit longer. The price is inevitably going to be a little bit higher. I'm not saying, I don't know how much it's going to come down by the deadline, but in theory, right, you think about it, maybe it gets a little bit more reasonable as you get into July. And then the urgency gets there too, because you have a deadline you're facing. So I don't know. We'll see what decision they make, but if they keep losing ground like they are, there's a check swing bunt off the bat of Yachty, and they'll probably throw him out by about 45 feet, and they did. A lot of other players would have beat that out. But so, yeah, this is I don't know, man. I feel like I'm in the phantom zone as far as baseball right now. It's just I didn't see this style of baseball coming this year. I thought, if anything, they survived the previous years off run prevention. Pretty good pitching, and solid defense, and an offense that I could still see struggling a bit going into the year, but to have every facet of your game be this poor is surprising. It's shocking. Not up in arms, man. We're doing this show tonight, which is the only reason I have this game on in the background. Because I tell you what, right now, I wouldn't be watching it. And I know it's crazy. It's crazy trying to do a baseball podcast when you have to, at times, force yourself to watch it. And that's what I've done.
Well, it's hard to talk about it, and it's hard to pay attention to it when your team is playing poorly. Think about April, and think about April for Pete and I.
Yeah.
We were.
I remember.
I felt like we were kind of halfway checked out.
Yeah.
On that first month of the season because it was so bad, and then May got fun.
Yeah.
And they won, and they were really good.
Well, you're playing on house money, you probably feel right now, right? Like
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we kind of look at it now where, okay, this is the month that if they can get through it, it could be good. And so far, I feel like so far so good. They're I mean, obviously, they're half game out behind Milwaukee right now.
Yeah.
With Milwaukee having a day off, so you beat Walker Buehler tonight, then you're back to tied, and then you've got 3 more games with LA,
which the Cubs can beat the top teams in the West. They've proven that this year.
We're getting close to the end of June where they don't have a month like this for the remainder of the season. It's a lot more of the NL Central, the Pirates, the Reds, and playing some of those very beatable teams, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've looked ahead at all, but September for the Cardinals is our June, where it's a lot of San Diego, Atlanta,
yeah.
I think Milwaukee. So you see a lot of really good pitching in September. And if you guys are still hanging around, I feel like that's going to be the moment for the Cardinals. And I don't know what the timeline is for some of the pitchers that are injured for you guys are.
Well, he just said Flaherty, August. Michaelis, we don't know, honestly, at the moment. Kim just got back off the IL, and problem with Kim is you don't get him for more than 4 or 5 innings. Right, and you're already into that bullpen. My concern is equal on the bullpen side. Those guys are getting used heavily, and you had to go out and sign Wade LeBlanc, who nobody even knew who the hell that was. Now
we saw what happened last inning.
Yeah, well, he's given up 1, but to his credit, he's probably pitched. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. He's pitched 5-6 innings now for him, and as far as I know, that's the only run he's given up.
Okay.
You know, I worry about the reliables in the bullpen getting overused. And we see what happens in this sport when guys in the bullpen get overused. Their careers are, I think more times than not, their lifespan's about 3 years in Major League Baseball before they find themselves in another organization trying to win a spot. And most of the time we don't ever hear from them again. We got a Cardinal roster we can read off of middle relievers that you don't even know where they're at anymore.
Look at those pitchers in the final year of Madden. Where are they now?
Right.
They're
all around baseball, man.
Still with ice packs on their shoulders.
Yeah, it's not just Mutheny. It's not just Madden. I mean, if you look around baseball, it's the same damn story. Dylan Betances, remember him from New York, where he lost that arbitration case, got real pissed off because he pitched as a reliever, he pitched like 200 innings, it seemed like, and I don't even know where he's at these days. But yeah, middle relief pitching is unnatural. It sucks, and I don't want to get off the Cubs yet because I want to touch on something here. At least in my mind, David Ross earned some respect removing Baez in the middle of a game because clearly his head was up his ass and he wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't locked in. He wasn't tuned in. But you know what? It for still a new manager, right? He hasn't even managed a full season yet worth of games, and
he 60 games last season.
Yeah,
that's it.
And a truncated year this year, last year, and then we're not even at the halfway mark, so he has not managed an entire season. But to remove a star, remove a star in the middle of the game, and to that point, I think Ross knows him pretty well, obviously being teammates, and he knows when Javi's we've lost him tonight. Like he's not there. So we're gonna sit him down, wake him up a little bit, and bring him back out tomorrow. So to his credit, he took him out, but that was I don't know. It was a move a lot of other managers wouldn't make that are that young into their managerial career.
I don't think so either, especially with a personality like him, because you either piss him off and kind of lose some of him a little bit, or you say, or like what happened, Javi comes out and he sits down with the media afterwards and is like, pretty much says, yeah, I fucked up. My head wasn't in the game. I wasn't all there. I understand why he did it, and I'll just go back out there tomorrow and make sure I know what's going on.
I don't like it, but it's a little reminder in the back of his brain every night,
right?
That if I'm not focused or locked in, I could be pulled, and it doesn't matter. And I don't know. It's I think baseball wide, that's a move you can respect.
And I feel like we've seen this from Javi every single year at some point where he has some of these boneheaded moves where he either forgets what's going on or the situation.
We've got a
or he
pitcher like
doesn't-
that. Did you see him? He made the start tonight. We've got a pitcher like that, but maybe about 10 times worse.
You were right.
Yeah,
But But the
you
thing
mooted
is, with
yourself, buddy.
Javi, he was never pulled for that kind of stuff. It was just,
Yeah.
that's kind of like the Manny being Manny thing. That was Javi being Javi. Well, Ross was like, well, I
Manny
can't
being
have
Manny. I
somebody
haven't
out
heard that
there.
for a while. You're talking about Manny
know.
Ramirez, of course, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I mean, he goes, So yes, he's pulled, and I mean, before nobody would ever do it, so they would just chalk it up. Hey, that's Javi. He'll get it figured out or something like that. But no, Ross was like, I'm not going to have somebody out there doesn't know what the situation is going on in the game. He's like, I need to have somebody else out there. Pulled him, had a conversation with him, sent him down to the dugout, and that was that. So
yeah.
good on him though.
Yeah. No, he owned up to it. I'm sure he didn't like it. He still didn't like that David Ross did it, but he did it. And so that little thought is going to be there the remainder of the year, or at least the time he's a Cub.
Yes.
That, hey, if I fuck up and I'm not paying attention, I could get pulled, because now I've got a manager that I know will pull me out of the game if I'm not there. So,
right.
So good on him. And I think the Cubs, it's pretty incredible. I mean, how bad, I don't know, maybe you don't feel this way, but how much do you wish you had Darvish still this year, at least for one more year, right? It's gotta be like, damn it. Like, if we knew this was coming, would these moves have been made? And you got to think like, no, they wouldn't have been made. Like, we would have.
Ron, it's twofold. It's
another home run, Elliott, just to give you a game update.
Oh, Jesus. it's what if we still had Darvish? And it's what if we had Darvish with the way this bullpen is?
Oh, the stadium is a lot more empty than when you just brought it up a few minutes ago.
There's more empty sections.
Definitely. Jesus Christ. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw your thought off there.
No, it's okay. I mean, like I was saying, it's twofold. It's what if we had Darvish, and what if we still had Darvish, and this bullpen is what it is, because you've got some guys performing at peak level right now that I had no idea these guys. I mean, I don't think anybody did, because you look at Pacoda. I mean, the Cubs were in the same area of where the Cardinals were. I think actually Pacoda had the Cubs in fourth place for the end of the season. Now, granted, there's still a little over half a season left, in which there's still a lot of time where this whole thing could implode. And it's all going to hinge on whether or not Jed Hoyer gets the okay to go out and get a starting pitcher.
It'd be interesting to see what this rivalry would be like if they both sucked right now. They're both like sitting in fourth and fifth place and going through the same thing. Yeah, I mean, it would be. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what this rivalry turns into be if both of these teams were cellar dwellers in the National League Central and just fighting each other just to not to finish fifth.
What if Milwaukee becomes king of the Central for the next 5 years?
Does that team not annoy you?
And the race is Cardinals Reds, with Milwaukee with Pittsburgh kind of being that fight from behind, and then we're 15 games out after 25 games in the season.
Yeah, I don't know. Milwaukee's a little, I don't know. They're a pest. Right? When you think that
always,
it seems like they've had capable bats on the team. They'll bring them in, recycle them, sign them from other organizations, but guys with a little bit of thump.
Right.
And you always look at it and go, but they just don't have the pitching to push them over the top. And now you look at them like, shit, they've got some guys in that rotation that look pretty good. And I didn't really know their names before this year.
Some of the best pitchers in the National League right now.
I know. And they're a lot more formidable. And I always underestimate them. I always do. And here they are. They're still afloat. Not even afloat. That's stupid to say. They're in first place. I mean, so
yeah.
That's not a float. We're almost half to what you just said. We're almost halfway through this year, and they're in first place, so they're not going anywhere. They're tougher than what I thought they would be, and everybody that our arrogance of sitting on top of the National League Central for so long. I always think Milwaukee's going to finish no better than third, and I'm going to be wrong this year because I don't think they're going anywhere. Not with the pitching they have.
Yeah, it'll be well, and I mean quietly now. I believe Kristen Yelich is having a pretty good season. He's having a bounce back from that 60-game half season. I mean, we saw
they just figured out a different. They
people.
figured out a different part of the park to tip him off to what pitch is coming. Evidently, in Miller Park. So
they're not using the lights anymore. They're using something else that can tip him off to.
But pitching, it sure would have been nice.
Can.
It sure would have been nice for you probably if Darvish was still in that rotation. It sure would have been nice if Mozeliak would have got the Cardinals some insurance arms, anticipating any guys can't bounce back. Or they just go on the IL. It's always great to have extra things so you can stay protected. Speaking of staying protected, we all know how important that is. Sometimes life throws a curve at you, and that's why you need Allstate. The Wiley Group has 2 locations in Festus and Arnold to serve you. They offer home, auto, boat, motorcycle, business, life insurance, investments, and so much more. They offer a customized approach that is unique to your situation to make sure you, your family, and assets are properly protected. They offer great rates and savings. Give Sean and his team a call today at 636-764-6294. They'll help you get an insurance quote right over the phone. Even give them a call and talk sports if you want to. That's no joke. They do that too. We all have busy lives, so you can also email Sean at SeanWiley@allstate.com and talk to him about your coverage options. And remember, you're in good hands with Allstate. Now, Max Scherzer. We've talked about him trade scenario, but I'm not going there. I'm going to Max Scherzer and then Sergio Romo for these new inspections that Major League Baseball has implemented across the league, checking guys off the field, hats, gloves, making them undo their belt buckle. And I don't know if you've seen any of the highlights on this.
I saw the Max Scherzer thing with Joe Girardi.
Yeah.
And I know you want to get to that, but I have not seen the belt buckle.
Sergio Romo, they've had them undo a couple of their belts to see if they don't have something tucked. Something tucked.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding. And so Max Scherzer, I mean, I've never seen, it's just so disgusted with the whole process. Like he's throwing up his arms, walking away quickly, and he just looks like this is just the dumbest thing ever. Sergio, I didn't think that could be topped until I saw Sergio Romo for the A's.
Okay,
basically
I missed this
almost dropped his pants right there. Like basically, like you want to strip search me? Fine. He undid his belt and started pulling his pants down, like probably thigh level, and said, "Here I am." And he threw his glove and hat on the ground. I don't know if he got ejected or not, but you can see the pain on the umpires just doing this. They don't want to do this. Like they don't want to stop these guys at the baseline when they're on their way back into the dugout and check them. The umps don't want to do it. You can see it in their face. The pitchers hate it, except for the rookies who don't know any better and they'll do anything you tell them to. But then you got a guy like Max Scherzer who's like, pretty much F you. I'll do it because I want to keep pitching in this game and I don't want to get ejected. But baseball is going to have to figure out a better way to do this because I understand the whole pace of play thing, right? But if your pace of play thing was the thing that was driving most of the changes we've seen in the sport, I don't know how this is going to help it.
No, and it's like, does the pitcher who's throwing a no-hitter want to continue to take off his to break his concentration because he's got to get frisked every single time he comes off the field?
I don't think they have to do it every inning, but
that's exactly what it is. Or do you want to have managers saying, "Hey, I want you to check this guy every single time he comes off the field," just to try to screw with him if his team's getting no hit?
See, I don't know, Elliott, and I know maybe this is not always practical, but you know how often catchers and shit get rid of a ball. Like a ball hits the dirt, They're tossing
gone.
it. They're tossing it back
Right.
to the ball boy or whoever. I really don't understand why they can't chuck those balls that are just thrown right back. I mean, the pitcher clearly had his hands on it. Do you have a way to take a look at those things and like, look, I don't know how hard it would be to like get a ball a pitchers just use, touch it with your own hand and be like, oh, there's sticky shit all over this. This isn't right. You know, this doesn't look right. Okay, this ball came from a pitch that Max Scherzer threw last inning. Now we're going to go check him. Like, I don't know why there's not a better way to do this rather than checking the pitcher themselves. Because look, man, it's, you know, stupid, Elliott, because what if the catcher has the shit on their glove or somewhere else? Like somebody else has it.
Right. What if he's pulling it off his glove and then putting it on the ball real quick before he throws it back?
Or he has it right there in his damn mitt in his web. And
you know what? Or you put it on your chest protector, and then all of a sudden, when you get a ball in the dirt that comes up and bounces off your chest protector, and
wipe
you
the dirt
pop
off
up,
of it,
and you got the ball sticking to your chest protector, Yadier Molina.
that's the first picture I saw. I know, right? I mean, given what we're facing today, that's the worst picture. That I still don't know how that thing got stuck in his chest protector. Now I don't know if spider tack's that strong or not, but that if it was going to stick that way, that was like Gorilla Glue, because I don't know how you would have done that.
Absolutely.
And then if it's Gorilla Glue, I don't know how it leaves the pitcher's hand, but this is, I don't know, man. This in combination with the All-Star jerseys and hats that I just saw today.
I didn't see them. What do they look like?
They look like shit.
Of course they do.
And the thing
Well,
is,
they
like,
had to come up with them real quick, because I'm sure the ones from Atlanta looked real good.
Well, I don't know if there's truth to this or not. And I know Twitter can fool me a lot, but these are proposed jerseys and hats that are to be worn during the game, not their own uniform. Which, if that's true, I hate it, because I think part of the fun of seeing your team, one of your players in the All-Star game, is that they're wearing your uniform representing your city, your team, not some. Look, I realize that maybe they're taking a page from the NBA All-Star game or something like that, but it's just, I don't know. I'm not opposed to changing things. I mean, shit, we face it all the time in our careers and where we work.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're not necessarily get off our lawn people. Well, Pete and I are sometimes, but
sometimes.
I mean, but like, do we have to fiddle fuck with everything right now? Like, it just seems like it's just a lot in a short amount of time that we're tweaking in the game. And
I'm surprised there's not a big Mountain Dew logo or patch on one of these jerseys, or the hat.
Yeah, or a QR code. Scan it on your TV. It's just
pause the game and scan the QR code of your favorite player to bring up his stats today.
Yeah. We'll just put a QR code right there on his crotch, and we'll zoom in right before the pitch is thrown, and you can get the lineups or whatever it is.
There you go.
But it's they're gonna have to figure out a better way to kind of police this substance, or approve something for them to use that's a little more practical. That whole Max Scherzer, Joe Girardi thing is pretty funny to me.
So I saw the replay.
Well, and I heard their explanations afterwards too. So it's both sides seem pretty reasonable. I mean, I just don't know.
I mean, you got the two-eyed freak staring at Joe Girardi, and Girardi's like, "What?" Like, I never got that. Like, okay, you're upset, but you got to stare at him like he cut you off and then gave you the finger. I mean,
you know how pitchers are, man. You screw with them at all, or you question what they're doing. I mean, can you imagine like a pitcher like one of ours, like Chris Carpenter would have been like, or Zambrano, or go back even farther to like Bob Gibson would probably thrown a wild pitch into the opposing team's dugout.
The dugout.
You know, just to we should have got our buddy Mark Littell on tonight so he could oh damn it. If I would have been thinking I would have had him on. I would love to get his take on this. Like, what kind of shit would he have pulled if he would have been stopped at the baseline? I would love to hear it, and I probably should just call him right now, but I don't know if he'd be awake right now. I don't want to wake him up. But what is it?
Yeah.
What is it in North Dakota? And then Central Time?
8:45. No, North Dakota, Mountain West.
I'm tempted to pick up the
So
phone,
he's an hour behind me, and I'm at 9:48.
No, I promised my wife I'd be out of here so she can go to bed. And if I get him on the phone, we're going to be on here for 45 more minutes. So we'll save it.
True.
We'll save it. But I want to hear his take on this. Little bit of a score update here. I believe it's now 8-1.
By the way, it's 1-0 Cubs.
Why not? I mean, I think they swept San Diego for the year, right? 6-0.
No, they lost one game. 2 games. So they were 4-2.
Okay,
against them.
Pretty damn good.
Beat Darvish.
Ooh, Arenado just threw a foul ball he couldn't catch, and okay, so that was the end of the 8th inning. Arenado took a ball and threw it in the upper deck. He is frustrated in the game. Let's not go there. We're not going to get into the other non-baseball stuff tonight. It's just too late. And interesting show though last week, Elliott. I'm looking forward to tomorrow morning. We got back on the rails a little bit with that. We don't want to go into it. This is mostly baseball tonight, and it's gone long.
Yeah. And then episode 3 on Wednesday. I know some people were a little disappointed with it. I liked it. Mm-hmm. So a little more in depth character wise. So
well, the score that it's 8 to, as we record this, it's 8-1. Pirates out ahead of the Cardinals. Surprising and not surprising at the same time that St. Louis is playing like shit, absolute shit.
Yep.
It's frustrating. It's stressful. We all know that buying a vehicle can also be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Busch Street Motors, located in Pacific, Missouri, will help you find the vehicle you need no matter what brand. Busch Street Motors believes in giving you the best price on a pre-owned vehicle that will fit your budget. Give Brandon or Dawn a call today at 573-259-1306 and tell them Gateway City Sports sent you. Do you have the link up to take us out, Elliott? Just curious. I'm just going to ask you.
I do.
You think you could do the honors tonight? I will try my best. I think we've touched on everything I wanted to in baseball tonight. Sticky balls, which might be the show title.
Yes.
And, Cardinals just being bad. In general, the Cubs playing better than expected. You guys are riding a little bit of a high right now. What's keeping you from being in complete euphoria is that you traded Yu Darvish in the offseason, and you probably wish you had him because that would be a fun ride for you guys going into what is the swan song of this Cubs core. And it could have been.
That is the big thing because, Arrieta, we kind of knew what we were going to get with him. He'll have flashes of who he used to be, and then we'll have most of who he is now, where he's an older pitcher who just doesn't have the stuff that he used to have, and he's trying to figure himself out. Now, I feel like he could be a John Lester type and figure it out that it's not based off his speed. It's placement of the ball.
Well, Wainwright had to do that too. Like he had to reinvent himself a little bit. These
guys
that used to throw smoke have to learn how to do it different. And you saw Wainwright for a couple of years try to do it on the fly, even in game, trying to invent things to get through it. And Jake is probably running up against that wall right now.
Right. And then you've got a young guy in Edward Azalai who is becoming a good pitcher, but he's still young and he's figuring it out. So you have really good flashes of him being great, but you also still have flashes of him being young. And then you've got Kyle Hendricks, who is actually on a little bit of a streak and becoming the pitcher who we all know that he is, because he's still in his prime. So if Kyle can just keep this going on, he's going to be fine. And then Zach Davies, he's a little bit of a kind of curveball here. He can be good if he's on, but he's kind of a tweener. I mean, I feel like there's no true number one guy, because we're kind of like this rotating door in the 5th spot where we're bringing in these guys that we're just trying out, and sometimes they work, we'll use them again, and sometimes they don't, and then we'll go to somebody else. So there's a need for like a 1A or 1B type pitcher. And the big question is, are they going to go out and get somebody like that at the deadline?
Well,
because if they do, I feel like there's a chance though that if the offense puts it together and you're ahead after 6 innings, the Cubs will win because of the way this relief pitching has been this year.
Yeah, and you look at the record against some of the best teams in the National League, and that probably gives them all the more confidence in the world. We'll see. Things change once you get into October. We've all seen that happen before.
That's absolutely true. Because you can be an 85-win team and you could win a World Series.
You can be an 83-win team and win the World Series.
Yeah.
We saw that in 2006 when all of a sudden the team got healthy and hot. All you have to do is get there. But it certainly.
But you got to get there. That's right.
It could certainly be a painful road. And if the Cardinals actually are going to get there and pull something out, which I don't see it happening right now with this club, same thing could, in theory, happen. Depends on what they do. Depends on how they play over the next month. They're not off to a very good start. So taking care of business is not the business they're in right now. And so update next week. Hopefully things turn around. But my prognosis is it's all going to shit. It's all falling apart. They're like a middle-aged man, right? Like things are starting to deteriorate.
You're going to go buy that Corvette?
They need to get some PEDs into that clubhouse quickly, and some spider tack. And hell, we'll just throw it in there, and a nipple too. Elliott, take us out.
All right, folks. So if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your friends to subscribe as well. We're available on Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Also, be sure to check out our other Gateway City Sports Network podcasts, including the Derek King Sports Show every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on Facebook Live, 2 for 3 with Moose Michaels, and Turn in 2 with Dylan Dinger and Tito Rivera. Send us an email.
One more to add there, and I didn't get into the notes. I'm sorry. I should have done this last week. New show on Gateway City by Brian Swope. You know him on Twitter at Papa Swope. Yeah. Yacker Jacks. Kind of a mixed bag of topics. Obviously, there's a spotlight on baseball and the Cardinals, but he tries to cover as much as possible. Brian's a good guy, so if you don't follow him on Twitter, please follow him. Elliott, continue.
I will continue. Send us an email at the show at teamofrivalspodcast.com. And you can find me at Twitter at TOR_Elliott. And you can find Ron at
TOR_Ron75. And I love the way he actually types this out. And it makes it hard to read, right? Like
it's phonetic.
It is. And so it's the first time you and I are looking at it. It's been up here for months. Neither of us have seen. Is there a date to this? Neither of us have seen
there
this.
might be.
And we're trying to read it. And this is May 27th. You put this 2020. Holy shit. May 27th of 2020. This has been up there. And you and I are just looking at it for the first time. This is one of Pete's job security things. He understands if he makes himself not replaceable by withholding key information, that he makes himself invaluable, right? So he's a master of that.
And you know, people will know that anytime you throw it to me, you're like, I'm not doing this shit.
I don't want to do it. I know. Trying to do it off memory has obviously been a massive fail.
It's difficult.
It's been a fail on my part too. But okay, well, we'd like to thank Mike Stevenson for joining us tonight on the 2 for 3 podcast. You can find him at Mike's on First on Twitter and look for his podcast. It's called 2 for 3, and you can find it on just about any podcast app you go to. You can also find him on GatewayCitySports.com. You can find us on GatewayCitySports.com too. All right, folks. It's kind of a shit show if you're a Cardinals fan right now. If you're a Cubs fan, it's like you're drunk in a casino at 3 a.m. and you've gotten lucky and you've come out ahead. So until next week, we love you all so much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.